Let me have a conversation about the ins and outs, the legalities of all of this, and maybe some political ramifications. With Brian Bouffard, he is, of course, the man that we go to when we want to deal with military law issues. Earned his law degree at Duke University Law School as a former Navy JAG officer, and practices up there in Fort Worth, Texas, in North Texas. He's a criminal and military defense counsel who travels worldwide, representing service members facing court-martial. Mr. Bouffard, great to make your acquaintance once again. Glad you're back here on the Voice of Texas.
Chris, thanks for having me.
Okay, let's talk about the legal steps. There are charges that have been leveled at Bouffard Law, citing the Uniform Code of Military Justice. What are those charges, and what are the penalties that they carry?
Okay, they've charged him with 2 offenses under the UCMJ, the first of which we were all expecting, and that is Article 85 desertion. They're saying that Sergeant Bergdahl, or then PFC Bergdahl, left his post with the intent to avoid hazardous duty or service, and that when he left, he had the intent to remain away permanently. So that makes out a desertion charge. But they've also charged him with something that I found very interesting, and in fact, I've got to, in some way compliment the government on being smart about this. I often see the government overcharge things, and they don't seem to have done that here. They've added a charge of Article 99, which is called misbehavior before the enemy, and it's a catch-all statute. There's a lot of different ways that you can charge somebody with that, cowardice or plundering and pillaging, things like that. But one of those is, by your misconduct, you endanger the safety of your command, unit, place, ship, something like that. Mm-hmm. And in this case, they've specifically alleged that Sergeant Bergdahl wrongfully caused search and recovery operations. And that is an explicit nod to the fact that 6 people were killed, and I believe others also injured, going out and looking for Sergeant Bergdahl. And the government, I think, is quite reasonably alleging he would have known that would have happened.
Well, and the penalty, my understanding is the maximum sentence for desertion is 5 years, but misbehavior before the enemy carries a possible, well, I've heard 2 conflicting statements about this, that the death penalty is permissible in this case, but the government is only seeking life. Can you clear that up?
That's almost correct. Under these circumstances, the actual legal maximum punishment is life and not death. The reason why the death penalty is not on the table is because even though common sense tells us all we've been at war since virtually since 9/11, it's not a declared war, and so gotcha. The Uniform Code of Military Justice for this particular article requires a congressional declaration of war. We haven't had that since World War II, so that means under these circumstances the death penalty would not be an option.
Okay, so now let's review where we have been, where we're going, and the political ramifications of this. Brian Bouffard, he is a former Navy JAG officer, and folks that we'd like to get on the program, or one of the folks we'd like to get on the program and talk about legal matters within the United States military. Going forward, this trial could go all the way into 2016. Am I exaggerating that?
You're not exaggerating that, but I would actually be very surprised if that happened. Right now, we are now beginning a process that is going to have a lot more oversight and a lot more resistance to lengthy delay. Up to this point, as you all know, we've been talking about this case for months and years. There's really been nothing requiring the government to move any faster, and I'm as mystified as I'm sure many of your listeners are why it has taken so long to get to this point. But right now, we're now at the beginning of the end, and that is the beginning of the trial process. It's very regimented, and very shortly, I would anticipate there will be a military judge involved in this, and he or she is going to move this case along smartly.
We're going to start getting into the very silly season here toward the end of 2015, as we look forward to the day when we can be rid of the current administration that occupies the Oval Office. So what bearing, if any, do you think that this trial will have on the political process? I mean, I know that there are a lot of Republicans who will be pointing this out as yet another failure of the administration, and Democrats who seem to be siding with America's enemies. And again, as I alleged off the top, so eager to shut down Guantanamo that they would empower the enemy with the worst of the worst, their leadership, back onto the battlefield to kill Americans. Where do you see this going, and the influence of this trial on politics?
Well, a couple things. Number one, to your point, obviously that's a debate that we should have. That's a debate we should have been having for a while. The problem is that in American politics, we don't debate. We just yell at each other. So I hope, with tongue in cheek and eyes firmly rolled, I hope that we can have an actual intelligent debate on that and other issues. But the actual case of Bo Bergdahl, let me give you my prediction. This is what my gut tells me based on my experience. This case is not going to go to trial. My gut tells me that this case, we're never going to be talking about, day 5 in the Bergdahl trial. I think that this case is going to be resolved quietly. I think this case is going to be resolved by a pretrial agreement. I think this case may even be resolved by a quick bad paper discharge, taking away Sergeant Bergdahl's back pay, sending him away from the Army in disgrace, and basically just saying, you know what, you served 5 years under we now know extremely brutal conditions, and that's all the government is seeking. And I think that would do a couple of things that I think would benefit the current administration. And I think the main thing is we're not all going to be talking about this. It's going to go away. So that's what I think is going to happen.
You're thinking that he's going to make a plea deal?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I really do. I could be wrong. We could certainly be ending up in a full-on contested members trial. And if that happened, I would guess, barring unforeseen circumstances, that could happen as early as probably mid to late summertime. So we could conceivably be done with this case this year.
Well, Brian, if Team Obama decides to go that route, again, with using their influence on the United States military to allow a plea deal, I mean, this is the way I look at it politically. You're going to open up every family member, or for all of those 6 people you articulated who lost their lives looking for Bo Bergdahl, every one of those families will be justifiably outraged, and they will be marched in front of the press who really give a damn that their family members lost their lives, because they're the Brian Williams press, the biased liberal press, they will do everything they can to suppress the pain of these individuals. They don't give a damn about making sure their story gets told. Thankfully, the Blaze is out there. Thankfully, Fox is out there, and we here in Talk Radio. These individuals will be given a platform to basically destroy the current occupier of the Oval Office. And again, once again, showing softness to the enemies of America and those who give them aid and comfort, as Bo Bergdahl attempted to do, because it's well chronicled now that he went out there looking for the Taliban. Anybody speak English? I want to communicate with the Taliban. And it scared the daylights out of their unit, and that's why they sent folks out looking for him, because he could have compromised their security, and then people died because of it. I just see, if they try to go that route, politically speaking, this thing could blow up too, yes?
Conceivably, but again, we're still speculating a great deal on the specifics of what the evidence is. We are still, you and I and everybody else out here, outside of the trial team and outside of the folks in the Army who actually know what the evidence says, we're just speculating about that. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of good information that we have and can probably rely on, but the prudent thing to do, and the thing that I really wish everybody would do, is tap the brakes on the outrage and wait until the actual evidence comes out and then evaluate it. It may end up being as outrageous as everybody thinks, but let's wait and see, and wait and see if it actually justifies.
And will that outrage ever have a chance? And this may be the calculation you're alluding to. What if the public never knows? Because there's a plea deal,
exactly,
and it never goes to trial. Then you want to hear outrage. Then you, like I said, you just open the door to everything that you and I have been speculating about here for the last 5 to 7 minutes. And then I think it takes on a life of its own. And again, it just adds another arrow in the quiver of those who say, you know what, Team Obama is out to undermine the United States of America, and those who aid Mr. Obama in doing that. Though, I've said it on this program that Bo Bergdahl is Barack Obama's type of soldier, that he abandons his unit, abandons his country, and that is why Barack Obama will force his government. And again, this is going to be the narrative that comes out. will force his government to treat this guy with kid gloves so that he is not punished at all for this. And I think it just opens up to a whole other can of worms for the administration. Just reinforces this this view by me and a lot of folks that Team Obama is working to the detriment of the United States of America and not for its benefit. Brian Bouffard, I really appreciate you being here. Give your web address, if you will.
I am at www.jagdefender.com. If you need me, find me. JAGdefender.com. Going to get you on the national show this weekend, too, on The Blaze. Outstanding.
And, we're going to, there are probably more developments today heading into tomorrow, and we'll sort it all out then. Brian Bouffard, appreciate your time and expertise as always here on the Voice of Texas.